This video is sponsored by Crimson Manifesto and Knuckles OX.
Hey guys, so skipping the usual YouTuber fluff I say in the beginning of these things, I'm just going to go ahead and read you what I wrote and forewarning about what you're about to see, just in case you might have missed the discourse between me and a lot of the people who've been clamoring for the next part of Jiraiya adopted Naruto. I'm apparently taking too long, and the idea of us kind of waiting for me to go ahead and finish up the Zabuza Survive series so we can focus on Jiraiya adopted Naruto as the main ongoing Naruto series of the channel on kind of the latter part of the year isn't too appealing to a lot of you guys, so a compromise just had to be reached, and the one that I decided on, because the visual just aid requirement, just the custom art requirements for this video were going to be so gigantic that it needed to be pushed back for a while, and it was going to be such a long video. We were going to kind of sacrifice part 11 to act as a guinea pig to see how you guys would feel about just kind of converting the rest of the series into just a podcast style and getting it done and over with. It kind of just comes down to an understanding of both everything I'm trying to put into my work, the fact that I'm trying to be proud of it, the fact that I want to do it at a timely pace, because you guys are right to point out it has taken a while. This video, or this story, has been going on since the first year of the channel. It's a very old story. It takes a lot to do these videos. It's not just plug and play. There aren't images of 5th Hokage Jiraiya. There aren't images of Uchimaru possessing Kimmaru's body. There aren't images of Anbu Sasuke that are, somebody else hasn't drawn that I have to do. This stuff isn't just out there. I have to get it, and I have to make it, and it's more of a ground up process than a lot of you kind of have appreciation for. So I hope this will act as that. I hope it'll also kind of show the power you guys have as a community to kind of kill or help stories thrive. So I mean, it's always one of those things of like participation and enthusiasm and like everything you can do, whether it be doing the big things like actually trying to be a direct like monetary supporter of the channel, or just like, hey, I'm going to make sure that I leave a like on this video, and I know my 6th cousin twice removed watched Naruto that one time. I'm going to send it to him, and just even if he doesn't watch it, I'll ask Phil to leave a like on it, just because I like this guy's stuff and I want him to do well. If I do want him to be a full-time content creator, it's one of those things you have to recognize. There are things you can do in the community where if you want content to come out at a certain pace, the harder you push it, the better that'll be able to do. Because I can't maintain the quality that I want to make stuff at the frequency you guys are going to want to consume it at, especially considering a lot of the times, especially in this series, stuff ends up being like over an hour long, and the algorithm is, number one, not built for that kind of stuff, and number two, that's incredibly hard to edit. So yeah, I'm going to stop nagging at you guys. I'm going to stop rambling. All that said, I do generally hope you guys enjoy the show, even if it is going to be mostly an auditory experience. Shout outs to my friend Pickle Dill for helping me dictate an actual script from the notes I had for this part. And without further ado, again, enjoy the show. Our story resumes in the office of the Hidden Least 5th Fire Shadow, Toad Sage Jiraiya, as he and his newly appointed aide, Naruto Uzumaki, dutifully set about processing the various mission reports, requests, and debriefings from all the previous few days' backlog. And so, the office is quickly set abuzz with multiple Narutos, all grunting, griping, and cursing under their breath, and yet efficiently analyzing and sorting the documents as he had been advised to by Old Man Hiruzen, whom the impatient young shinobi notes with a vein throbbing on his forehead is once again napping at one of the office guest chairs while hiding away from more training with his bratty, elite shinobi grandson. Nonetheless, Naruto can't help but find something sweet about the old man's relationship with Konohamaru, as it reminds him a bit of his own relationship with his dad. This brings his gaze back to Jiraiya at his desk, busy jotting down notes with a light blush, and yet a less pervy expression he'd had when doing so any time before they'd gotten back from the trip. Curious of what his old man might be up to, Naruto approaches from his dad's blind spot, successfully doing so against the old sparring master being a surprise in and of itself, though nothing compared to the shock that comes when he sees what Jiraiya is writing. For once, it's not his usual smut, but instead, a love poem for Granny Tsunade, and a really cheesy one at that, so much so that he can't help but crack up a bit, surprising his dad and accidentally causing a literal butting of the heads between them as Jiraiya awkwardly asks what his brat is doing sneaking around like that. Stomping his foot irritably, Naruto explains that he needs something to occupy his attention, since this crummy dog's body gig sure isn't cutting it. Recognizing Naruto's refusal to just admit that he's anxious, Jiraiya sighs that his son is as dense as the Hokage monument, dropping all pretense and speaking as the boy's father rather than his Kage, and plainly spelling out that he's giving Naruto an excuse to take things seriously and make good on his goals, since they both know this desk job will be child's play. It should give them both enough free time and cover to cram some of the things he learned during the trip into him, apologizing that he couldn't just let the kid simply run wild with a scroll of forbidden seals and village secrets, because at the same time, he pushed him away slightly when he did that. And in all truth, he and Fu only got so much stronger training alongside one another after they finished rounding the villages and met Killer B, part of him even regretting not simply leaving their training in safety to the master Jinchuriki fully. At this moment, Hiruzen reveals he's awake, and reining in Jiraiya's ego by reminding that he too had trouble focusing on his own growth when training alongside the object of his affection once upon a time, though Jiraiya humbly admits all too happily to this. What's more, he sheds more insight on the particular nature of this loss to the bombing shinobi Deidara, stating how his unique weapon was perfect for countering a Jinchuriki so dependent on their tail beast's power. Beyond that, the opponent being as cerebral as they were also meant their plans had multiple steps to abuse that fact, and basically turn their healing against them to drain stamina. Naruto not wanting to be reminded of any more failures, huffs exuding no patience to try his hand at either sealing or sage arts. But before Jiraiya can insist that both are his birthright once again, another attendant knocks on the office door, interrupting to inform the Hokage that the Anbu squad led by Tenzo had returned, and so Naruto, taking notes of the debriefing, stands by, feeling even further behind as he hears Sasuke taking on an even tougher version of Orochimaru than it took all his dad had to drive away. And so it is that when the Anbu squad begins to depart, and Naruto promises to check in with his rival later as they vanish, he resolutely sits back down and snaps his dad out of his own deep musings, stating while he understands the man just got major news, right now he's in a hurry, so he and as many clones as it'll take are going to speed through this training to catch up. Jiraiya's sweat drops, getting the feeling that he wasn't the one to convince his son at the end, but nods, as he can never deny the kid's drive to achieve absolute victory. And so, after multiple crash courses on the basics of sealing arts, the blonde and his clone Arm begin to work on the task, quickly having the fundamentals brutally perfected in matters of minutes between the group, as both Jiraiya and Hiruzen's keen eyes are able to spot mistakes and level punishments so they are not repeated when higher cost seals are attempted. And the hell does not stop there, as at night when the boy would like to go home to the Hokage mansion, eat ramen, and rest his cramping writing hand, he is instead treated to meals at the hands of Lady Shima and sagely training from old man Fukasaku in his own home. Things continue on and on like this for over a week, as Naruto can only hope Fu and B wait for him just a little while longer. Though as time goes on, Naruto grows increasingly antsy, until finally he makes a crucial decision. He can't delay any longer, so for better or worse, he's just gotta go now. And this does unfortunately mean leaving before his sage training is truly complete, as so far, he has only managed to achieve an imperfect sage form twice. With the fate of the remaining Jinchuriki on the line, he really can't afford to dawdle. Luckily, he has just the jutsu he needs to escape the village and join his compatriots in a short span of time. Or rather, he does in theory. The jutsu in question comes courtesy of his seal training, with the general principle being simple. It will idly convert his massive amount of chakra into wind, basically recycling the purpose of his old hurricane orb technique, allowing him to propel himself at high speeds while wasting no time or effort to change his nature. Truthfully, it's nowhere near as impressive as some of the seals other Uzumaki have apparently pulled off, but by now, Naruto has more or less gotten over his show-off phase, meaning he'll be satisfied so long as it gets the job done, and so haphazardly, he draws the seal across the back of his flak jacket in a large messy scrawl. Giving the seal a test drive, Naruto's first lesson comes in the form of a rather painful collision with the wall, as he learns that when using this particular trick, enclosed spaces are unfavorable and turning is harder than it should be. However, one thing he can say to his credit is that it certainly delivers on raw speed, as right there he felt like he was flying almost. And so, after making a quick adjustment to the air output to allow for improved maneuverability, Naruto is off once again, yelling excitedly as the wind rushes past him, and the village becomes a blur in his peripheral vision. Unfortunately, here Naruto receives lesson number 2, with his teacher being the hard, unforgiving ground, who is all too eager to catch him when he lands, knocking all the air from his lungs as a reminder of his presence. But no matter, this just means he needs to adapt the seal a bit further this time, to direct a bit of wind chakra to expel from the soles of his feet, as that will give him his extra speed back and enable him to make easier landings. When he is done, Naruto takes off at a running leap, finding his new augmentation to have perfectly done the trick, as he quickly finds himself soaring in a wide arc from a single jump, and upon landing is able to leap again just as easily. One such bound even allows him to fly over the village gate, a shocking sight for the pair of unwary night watchmen. Though all the same, there's only one kid with an orange flat jacket in the village, meaning that when Naruto refuses to heed their calls to return, they know exactly who to take it up with. Meanwhile, Naruto is euphoric with its achievement, getting more and more air with each leap and pushing to break his personal record every time, which in turn allows him to pick up speed as longer jumps mean less lost momentum. At this rate, he'll catch up to Fu in no time. That is, assuming nothing comes along to slow him down. Such as, say, a gator sandal slamming into his face, soaring backwards at speeds even faster than his jumping. Naruto is sent crashing through several thick trees before landing in a heap a good 30 feet from where he'd been a moment ago. As he groggily gets to his feet, he spies an odd white bird out of the corner of his eye, though a moment later, it's gone, with Naruto's attention instead being turned to the 4 people standing where he had been before the attack. Though he does not know 3 of them, it is easy enough to surmise from their clothes that they are Anbu, while the 4th figure is one Naruto knows all too well. His dad. Shaking off the cobwebs, Naruto angrily asks his father what he did that for. With a grim expression, Jiraiya replies that he's come to bring Naruto home, since he should know better than to run off in the middle of the night, especially when the Akatsuki are afoot. Cracking his knuckles, Naruto grins and loudly boasts that he's not scared of those rogue bozos, though this just makes Jiraiya snort that the boy's even stupider and more headstrong than he gave him credit for, grumbling to himself that he thought they got over the rebellious phase already. He then tells Naruto to come home with him one last time, making it clear that any subsequent request will come attached to a Rasengan. Though still grinning, Naruto tells him to bring it on, since it's been ages since he and his old man went around with real stakes. Looking back to his 3 Anbu guards, Jiraiya tells them not to interfere in what's about to happen, adding that he's in no real danger, a claim which gets Naruto all riled up, as he goes for the first attack. However, as he insinuated, Jiraiya is able to dodge this with ease, telling his son to try again before avoiding the follow-up blow with a similar lack of effort, as Naruto runs through every kata his dad or the Toads have ever shown him in a mad dance to land a solid blow in vain. Fuming, Naruto goes in for a Rasengan, but this quickly proves to be a mistake, as his dad responds by flicking his foot in the air and catching Naruto's nostril with his big toe. This brings the boy to a grinding halt, causing him to lose focus and for the Rasengan to dissipate, as he complains that this is really weird and gross. But with a chuckle, Jiraiya retorts with one of the oldest lessons he's taught him. Being a shinobi is harnessing the unexpected. He then slams his heel into Naruto's chin, sending him staggering back, and as the boy comes to a stop, Jiraiya reminds him that he did warn this would happen. Adopting that cocky grin again, Naruto tells his dad that kick barely tickled, but with a grin of his own. The Fire Shadow retorts that that wasn't a kick, before rushing his massive frame forward and swinging his leg in a wide arc to demonstrate to his son what a kick from him would actually be like. But as he does, Naruto forms a hand seal that sees a clone shove him out of the way, detonating in a large explosion to cover the original's tracks and buy him some time. Using the speed from his seal, the real Naruto then attempts to make his escape again, but knowing him as both his father and the shinobi who taught him such tricky subterfuge, Jiraiya sends his wild lion's mane surging through the smoke to ensnare him and slam him back down again. Nonetheless, Naruto refused to allow himself to be kept down for long, clambering back to his feet and hurling a shadow clone at his dad. Grinning, the clone activates his own wind seal for speed and readies a massive Rasengan, which Jiraiya easily negates with his own, using his free hand to unfurl a scroll with a custom seal on it, causing a massive torrent of toad oil to spray everywhere with enough force to poof the clone out of existence, while also drenching Naruto. Grimacing, Naruto knows exactly what this is set up for, though unfortunately, being aware of something does not necessarily mean one is skilled enough to prevent it, a fact which is evident in the way the young blonde soon finds himself on fire, thanks to his father's Rasengan being surged with fire chakra, as he slams it to the oil-covered ground to set off a fiery eruption. Letting out a yell, Naruto uses his newfound speed to leap up and away into a nearby lake, vigorously trying to get the burning oil off his skin and clothes, a difficult feat considering the relation of oil and water. Nonetheless, he eventually manages, rising back to the surface with a scowl on his face. If his dad's gonna bring out the toad techniques, then this means war. A few minutes later, Naruto comes bursting from the tree line, though this time, he is not alone, as he now has Ma and Pa resting on his shoulders, allowing him to enter his imperfect sage mode for the 3rd time, while internally demanding the Nine-Tails keep quiet long enough for him to reach Fu and B, and not blow his teachers away. This causing the fox to get a bit huffy that their deal and his power isn't even being considered for this. As the trio approach the Hokage and his Anbu, Fukasaku calls out, saying he hopes Jiraiya Boy won't take this personally. It just seemed too good of an opportunity to get Naruto Boy to practice his Sage Mode. Grinning affably, Jiraiya responds that it's completely fine, since he welcomed the chance to get a little Sage Mode training in himself, though if Naruto's bringing in help, it's only fair he do the same. For a moment, the boy thinks his dad's about to call on his Anbu guards, though this is probably just proven as Jiraiya nips into his own thumb, masterfully speeding through hand seals to summon a toad of his own, that being Gamabunta's massive frame, earning spiteful derision from Kurama in his head. Grumpily, Bunta asks what Jiraiya needs from him so urgently. As atop his head, the Hokage asks for some help disciplining his boy, father to father. Bunta sighs testily, but upon seeing Lady Shima and Lord Fukasaku, responds with a reluctant yes, Lord Fifth to his best friend, able to tell he enjoys his new position more than he lets on, before coming at Naruto with his full strength, as even when he narrowly dodges a stamping slap of the toad's palm on the ground, he is sniped with a water bullet jutsu in midair, blowing him back near the village proper, only to come surging back with twice his speed for revenge. Pushing his seal hard, this allows Naruto to drive a powerful dropkick into his self-proclaimed uncle's stomach that actually causes him to skid back and for Jiraiya to be jostled a bit atop his head. the sage taking advantage of this opportunity to help his friend by smacking Naruto away with a flying toe kick of his own, teasing that he forgot Bunta probably couldn't handle the kid on his own very well anymore, and suggesting they do their new trick. Grumbling under his breath, the toad agrees to this, though in the testy tone, asks that he'll be expecting a gourd of sake as big as his head next time the signing comes to Mount Miyoboku, as payment for this favor. Chuckling that Bunta is the best, Jiraiya then makes another hand seal, at which point the large orange toad is gone, replaced by the massive Tonto he is known to carry. Despite his annoyance, Naruto can't help but be a little impressed that his dad and Gamabunta mastered Old Man Hiruzen and his summon Inwa's trick, though he does have to snark that it's too bad he couldn't wield a sword that big. Chuckling evilly, Jiraiya asks if his son wants to bet on that, as his eyes become shaded in orange while his pupils become froggy and yellow. Then, with a grunt, he hefts the blade in both hands, mildly teasing that Naruto will be able to do this too if he focused on sage training instead of running around with girls. Angrily, Naruto snaps that his pops is the one to talk, though Jiraiya's only response is to bring the blade down in a wide arc, forcing the boy to bolt in the opposite direction with a scream. Admonishingly, Shima reminds the boy that the key to Sage Mode is stillness, and that if he keeps running around like this, he'll only wear out the nature chakra she and Fukusaku are gathering faster than they can collect it. Though with another yelp, Naruto retorts to his bug-eating grandma that he'll get on the whole stillness thing when his dad's not swinging a giant knife at him. Unfortunately, it seems that Jiraiya has no plan of stopping anytime soon, with the Gamabunta blade quickly carving its way through several trees thanks to Jiraiya's sage enhanced strength. This leaves Naruto purely on the defensive, as he has to use all his pseudo-sagely reflexes along with the speed gained from his seal just to stay far enough ahead that he won't become Sashimi. The only benefit of this is that by using these two abilities in conjunction, Naruto starts to develop an idea of how he can escape, since though he hates to admit it, it is patently obvious that winning in a straightforward fight against his dad is beyond him at his current level. The idea in question is to make one last augmentation to his seal, that being to passively convert his chakra similar to Sage Mode. So if he can do that, he might just be able to create enough wind chakra to fly. The only problem is how he's supposed to change his seal when he's not exactly carrying writing utensils on him. All thought on writing is then immediately driven from the boy's mind, as a sharp pain runs up his leg. Looking down, he sees that in his distracted state, he allowed himself to get sloppy, with the tip of his dad's blade slicing through his pants and causing blood to run down his calf. Laying a hand on the wound to staunch the bleeding until his natural healing can kick in, Naruto is struck by another idea, as he feels the wet stickiness of the blood. Dabbing the cut with 2 fingers, he is just able to gather some blood in his fingertips as the wound closes, though this is all he needs, as by using the red fluid, he is able to make the last amendment to his experiment. As soon as the boy lifts his bloody finger from the seal, everything changes, as the speeds he knew before suddenly become like the slithering of a particularly slow slug. Even Jiraiya can't help but be shocked, as in an instant, his sons become an orange flash, doubling back and using the giant blade as a springboard to shoot up into the air. However, unlike his previous attempts, Naruto does not begin descending, instead rising higher and higher, as he naturally expels wind chakra so potent it maintains its visible blue state as it explodes from the palms of his hands as well as the soles of his feet. Not only does this grant the boy the ability of flight he had hypothesized, but it also gives him the ability to steer himself with perfect control, even if it does take him a moment to figure out exactly how. Looking down, Naruto sees his dad and the Anbu staring up at him with amazement, as well as the weird white bird from before watching him from the trees. Poking his tongue out at all of them, the blonde then pushes himself to soar even higher, grinning as they all become specks beneath him. Next stop, the Jinchuriki gathering. Meanwhile, back on the ground, Jiraiya can't help but smile, pleased to see that Naruto passed success with the same sort of creative thinking that Minato would have used in his place. He only hopes that creativity will keep his son safe until they can meet again. A moment later, a new figure appears, that of Sasuke, releasing his transformation to reveal himself still dressed in his Anbu crow mask, as he drops from the tree line and takes a knee in front of Lord Fifth. Still smiling, Jiraiya asks if the Uchiha was as impressed by Naruto as he was, though in a neutral tone. Sasuke answers that he didn't expect anything less of his rival. The only question is if he's evolved to the point he said he would yet. Chuckling dryly, Jiraiya responds that he doesn't think so, though he's certainly close. This sparking his curiosity, Sasuke asks what the Hokage thinks Naruto is missing, to which Jiraiya answers that is something he cannot know, though he believes the last piece of the puzzle lies with the other Jinchuriki. So while he could not tell his oppositional son, he is pleased that he's going to join them. Still in his neutral tone, Sasuke then asks Lord Fifth if he would like him to follow Naruto, but with a shake of his head, Jiraiya declines, saying Naruto must walk his own path for a while, not to mention he had a little bit of insurance on him anyway, and besides, they have much to do back in the village. But this is where we'll be leaving this story off for right now. So that does it for this one. As always, let me know your thoughts, especially with this one since it is pretty much an experiment. If you want to know mine, stick around for a little ramble. I think the most major thing to say now is that this brings the count of videos I had remaining for Jiraiya out to Naruto back when part 10 dropped, and that was 5, with me essentially having split this one in half with this experiment. That's going to now pretty much just change to 6. And you know, that might always be up for some kind of changes. Like some of those might end up being acts where they might get split into 2 or 3 separate parts to do one collective whole arc. You never know, because the entire point of that 5-part countdown was going to be they were going to be pretty large, beefy parts, no matter what I did. So yeah, definitely let me know your thoughts. You know, were you one of the patient ones who didn't mind the wait and had interest in the content coming out in the meantime? Or do you maybe have the perspective that this part's ease of production just kind of, you know, makes it worth it in your eyes? I mean, did it change your mind? Do you feel vindicated if you're one of the ones who asked for this kind of speeding up of the process? You know, do you have any regrets? I definitely want to know it all. And once again, you know, shout outs to Pickle Dill for helping me scripting wise. This part definitely could have been a little bit beefier. I think the fight between Naruto and Jiraiya could have gone a little bit deeper, but I also didn't want to explore the full breadth of what 5th Hokage Jiraiya can do. You know, right now he probably looks extremely lame because it's like, okay, you know, perfect stage mode, Gamabunta can do the thing that Here's and Enma used to do where you turn into a sword, but he's not like shrinking when he does it. You know, he's just a big sword. But I have a lot more cool ideas for like some of the things he can do, and there's probably a big hint as to one of them, a lot of the art I've shown of him already. As for the idea of like Naruto's seal and the fact that probably a lot of people are going to kind of clamor and be like, why didn't he just learn Flying Raijin? Like, it's already right there. They're already like learning things from the Scroll of Seals. It's more than likely in there. Why not give him Flying Raijin? My thing with that was, number one, Flying Raijin would kind of just make all the, like, it would make a lot of things too trivial. But beyond that, it wouldn't be Naruto's own seal, which the idea of like, oh, well, it's your birthright. You know, you need to attain Sage Mode and create your own seal, that kind of being the thing that Minato did to kind of grow out of Jiraiya's shadow. That's the last thing Naruto has to do, which was the entire point of like, oh yeah, like when I took you on this training trip, for a moment I just had to let you be a kid because I recognized like this is kind of the last step. He's about to go ahead and surpass me. That was a really big part of the story. I think in general it all came together really, really well, and I think the next part, which is going to set up basically a flashback arc that is going to shed some more light on exactly what happened during the training trip, you know, from Naruto and Fu's meeting to a lot of what happened that we didn't get to see, including some reappearances of some past characters, that sets up some future stuff. Like, it's going to be fun. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what you guys will want if you want to return to the regular stuff. I feel like you probably will. But I also feel like the people who called for us to do it this way will probably say like, hey, let's just keep doing it like this, and maybe by the time you finish it all up, it can do a full story. You can pay an editor and have the art by then to where, you know, the full story version can be the best version of the entire story and have updated visuals. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. For now, though, I want to go ahead and sign off on this one and get it out of the way and get off my plate. So, shout outs to the amazing supporters of the channel in the form of Pizza15X, Aaron Winters, Normandy1998, Shao Pai, Coder SV3, Royan Charizard, Daniel Smith, Drax, Dylan Wolf Dog 31, Infernape Bees 326, Jay Uray, Johnny, Narku, Omar Cousin, Snow Slash Memes More, Stephen Norton, Taryn, The Shadows, Vegeta What Ifs, Alamancer, B, Blood Down, Lyman Rogers, Omar Muhammad, Aiko, Tay, Inebriated, John Sullivan, Trent Rouse, Dark Shadows, Pokemon Trainer Cam, River Joy, Elijah Edwards, Mr. Hamtastic, Jesus is King, Half an Onion, Angel Gonzalez, David Spalding, Lil T 910, Flyer B, Joseph Lau, Blaze 9526, Trainer Rad 164, Luca Reynolds, Baron Stormblade, Panda Walk 301, Ono, Chris Macariano, Lily, Simroth, Red Violet, DeAndre, Gerald Smith, Luxu, John Self, Jacob Whitaker, Massive Oak Woodtree, Demon Set, True Trey, Dutch McGee 101, Bruce Boswick, Robert Archegard, Craig Scheiman, Jao Madden, King Music FR, Courtney Hawkins, and Orion 101.